why would anybody want to, do what they did?
Police are investigating a possible hate crime at the state's oldest African-American church. What the Reverend has to say about the hateful messages left behind.
We're not adequately treating it. We need to be more aggressive.
But tonight, there's new hope for treating postpartum depression. Why Utah doctors are cautiously optimistic about the newly approved drug.
We're tracking fire concerns and eventually some more flash flooding problems here across the state. What to expect this week.
It's an innovative conference that is looking towards the future.
So Utah's moving from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. We'll hear from the decision makers on why they decided to make that move.
And with the new conference alignment, a renewed rivalry.
I think there's already a lot of buzz in the state, which is good.
How fans feel about Utah joining BYU in the Big 12 and how much money each school stands to make.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Evans.
And I'm Kelly Chapman. Salt Lake City police now investigating a possible bias crime at Utah's oldest black church. A sign was vandalized and offensive messaging was left behind.
Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser spoke to the Reverend, who says this is the third incident they've had in less than 2 years.
Stay off my block. You are not welcome. Hateful words scribbled into the sidewalk in front of the Trinity African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Like who and why, and those kind of questions that, why would anybody want to, do what they did?
Reverend Daryl Jackson was on his way to church service Sunday morning to preach to the same pews he grew up in when they also discovered the sign outside the building was vandalized.
It's disappointing that we would have to, that, we're still at this point in our lives, right? That there are still people that have a sense of hatred.
This is Utah's oldest black church, founded before Utah was even a state. This building has sat here since 1907 and was deemed a historic site back in the 70s.
Trinity AME was a center of the community because it was a place where the children could go after school, a lot of community events, a lot of celebrations.
That's Robert Birch with the Seema Hadithi Foundation. The organization works to research and preserve black history in Utah, and Trinity AME is full of it.
The purpose of that church is to bring together the community in a sense of love, and hopefully we can be charitable enough to each other to be able to not let something like that bother us too much.
Salt Lake City police are investigating and put up security cameras on Monday. They believe the vandalism and the messages took place at separate times.
You got to love your neighbors. They may mistreat you. They may not do what you expect them and that respect, but at the end of the day, we're to love our neighbors.
In just a month, this will be behind them, and they'll be celebrating a restoration that's been 10 years in the making on September 9th. The church's 135th anniversary will follow on Sunday.
I hope it brings excitement. I hope it, brings hope.
The sign should be replaced Tuesday, and anyone with information about the vandalism and the hateful words left behind should contact police at 801-799-3000. Reporting on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Just into the Fox 13 newsroom, a member of the powerful Huntsman family in Utah has won a major victory in a lawsuit against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. James Huntsman sued the church, accusing it of fraud. He claimed his tithing dollars were misappropriated to pay for the City Creek Center Mall in downtown Salt Lake and to bail out Beneficial Life. A lower court judge threw out the case, but tonight, the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in California reinstated part of the lawsuit. They ruled that Huntsman could proceed with his lawsuit over City Creek Center, but not Beneficial Life. Huntsman is the brother of former Utah Governor Jon Huntsman Jr. and Paul Huntsman, chair of the board of directors of the Salt Lake Tribune.
A spokesperson for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints sent a statement to Fox 13 News. doubling down on their stance of there being no fraudulent activity, saying, quote, the church did exactly what President Gordon B. Hinckley said when it invested earnings on the reserve funds in the City Creek project. The church looks forward to defending these facts in the next phase of the legal process.
The Food and Drug Administration recently approved the first ever oral medication to treat postpartum depression. It's expected to be available within the next few months.
Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree shows us why Utah doctors and doulas are cautiously optimistic about the new drug.
Moms to know if you're experiencing this, you are not alone.
Ricky Briner says she experienced depression, anxiety, lack of appetite, and intrusive thoughts after having her first child.
I was so afraid all the time that something bad was going to happen to me while I was caring for my baby, and I was terrified to be left alone with him. I remember my husband going to work and just feeling like, how am I going to make it through today? Just feeling completely overwhelmed.
A childbirth educator and postpartum doula, she's helped dozens of women work through their depression and heal.
Mom is just not feeling like herself. She's not able to feel joy or connect to things that she once loved. Can also show up as not wanting to take care of yourself or your baby, or not feeling like you're able to do that.
Until now, the only medication for postpartum depression was through an IV injection.
This new medication is an oral pill that you take for 14 days. So the onset of action is relatively quick. And it's oral, so you don't have to have the IV administration.
Dr. Sean Esplin says he hopes the pill will be affordable for women since the price for Zurzuvae hasn't been announced yet.
Mental health conditions are one of the leading causes of maternal death in our state. A significant number of the maternal deaths that happen in our state are associated with postpartum depression. So we're not adequately treating it. We need to be more aggressive.
Both Dr. Esplin and Briner are excited that solutions for postpartum depression are being prioritized, but agree that this mental illness needs to be treated with a holistic approach.
I do caution families to keep in mind that with postpartum depression, there's usually not one magic button that you push and you instantly feel better. We usually have to tackle this from multiple angles.
In North Salt Lake, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The city of Draper is still cleaning up from last week's flooding. There are still roads with debris on them and roads with damage, as well as about 250 property owners who've reported issues.
We have neighboring cities that have offered their street sweepers, their vac trucks to go out and clean out our storm drain system and clean up roads. So we're still in that phase. We're hiring consultants and engineers to go out and look at the damage.
Dobbins says after that, crews can get to the larger infrastructure repairs, including rebuilding in a way that will help prevent something like this from happening again. The city is seeking state and federal money to help private property owners.
The Thompson Ridge fire near Beaver has grown to 250 acres. It's burning 11 miles southeast of the city. A Type 3 team is now working on that fire. That means it requires more resources than just local firefighters and equipment and more management personnel. No structures are threatened right now. The fire was started by lightning last Friday. A semi-truck fire temporarily shut down part of I-80 in Parley's Canyon this afternoon. UHP says the fire was in the truck's trailer, which was full of frozen vegetables. The driver was not hurt. All westbound lanes were briefly shut down as crews put out the fire.
Good thing that fire did not spread in Parley's Canyon, because right now wildfire concerns are high in Utah.
That's right. We saw that not too long ago. Was it last summer or the summer before, where we had that big wildfire up in Parley's Canyon? Well, what we're tracking for you here across Utah into tomorrow will, yes, be critical fire weather, especially for central and southern Utah. Right now, it's pretty comfortable outside, around 70 to 80 degrees as you're getting ready for bed. We've got less wind than we had earlier today, but with a front that's going to graze northern Utah tomorrow, we're going to see increased chances for rain after midnight, and we're also going to see some very gusty wind in southern and central Utah tomorrow as our front stalls out and basically dissolves. It's going to be a very shallow cold front that moves through into tomorrow morning, so our temperatures will drop into the 60s. We'll have mostly cloudy sky tonight with temperatures as we head into your Tuesday morning in the 50s and 60s here across the state. We are tracking the chance for showers and maybe even some thunderstorms. More on that coming up.
Thanks, Allison. The Utah State Board of Education says it has concluded its investigation into board member Natalie Klein after 2 separate incidents in late June and early July.
The board says someone filed a complaint about Klein after she allegedly made an inappropriate comment about a Board of Education staff member at the Taylorsville Library back on June 29th. The board met twice last week to review the evidence and consider possible action. In this matter, no additional action was taken due to a lack of sufficient evidence. Then, however, on July 13th, the board condemned comments that Klein made on July 4th, stating that schools were, quote, complicit in the grooming of children for sex trafficking and brainwashing them into queer, gender-bending ideologies. The board concluded its statement today, expressing regret about inaccurate statements and preliminary analysis during the investigation, leading to premature conclusions and speculation regarding board action.
The Salt Lake City Council is commenting on the potential closure of 7 elementary schools. In a statement, they said the school board must be weighing the necessary closure of these schools to help the school district better serve students in the remaining schools, with the heartbreaking reality of the huge blow it will be to the affected families and students. Council members say they don't have a legal role in the decision, but want to collaborate with the school board on the decision and will continue to focus on issues related to schools and neighborhoods. Elementary enrollment has dropped 30% in the last 8 years in Salt Lake City. Information sessions on the closures begin next month.
A Farmington man has pleaded guilty to federal charges of uploading to YouTube videos of himself torturing and killing animals. Federal prosecutors say 20-year-old Samuel J. Webster bought 4 guinea pigs from a local pet store in October of 2021, then posted 23 videos on YouTube showing himself torturing the animals and killing at least one of them. Webster will be sentenced on December 11th. These are not videos, by the way, that he uploaded. These are just videos of other guinea pigs.
From Utah to Dubai and now back to Utah. It has been a bumpy road for him and the state. But coming up, we'll introduce you to the man now in charge of policing the police.
Kids across the state of Utah are getting ready to head back to school later this month, and one local school district is using a tool they hope will help keep kids safe on school buses and educate drivers in the process.
The next step we need to take in terms of conservation.
Sandy City launches a new app that can help its residents save water.
There's a lot of consequences to bad police work, and we need to make sure that it's the best as possible. I don't want to let the commissioner down. I don't want to let the state of Utah down.
The state of Utah has sworn in a new post director. Travis Reese is now leading the agency in charge of training, investigating, and disciplining law enforcement officers in Utah.
But the state admits the process has been bumpy, with the last candidate to almost receive the position not getting the job because of Fox 13 News investigative reporting.
Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbetz has tonight's update.
Well, for the last 8 months, this story has been more about the other candidate, Sheriff Jared Rigby, not getting the job. But today, it was about Travis Reese. And yeah, even today, sure, Rigby's name was the elephant in the room. But the state says it's time to move forward. His most recent job was training police in Dubai, but now he's back in Utah. Travis Reese used to be deputy chief at West Jordan PD. Now he's in charge of policing the police statewide.
We affect people's lives every day, and so we have to be held to the highest standards, and we should be scrutinized, and we should be under the microscope. It's uncomfortable at times, but it's part of our job.
He is not just talking about the officers he'll be investigating. He's also talking about himself.
The investigators were all over me, and they should be.
The state says Reese went through possibly the most thorough background check in the history of Utah Post directors, especially after our investigation revealed information that stopped the previous candidate from getting the job in January.
I'm in a spot right now where I'm going to be post director.
As the future post director, don't you think the public has a right to know that you've been reported to post?
I don't know what to say.
Sheriff Jared Rigby's appointment was canceled after this interview, just days before his swearing-in ceremony. And it's because of this recording, where he's accused of bullying an officer for filing a complaint against his own police chief.
The only way that you can get in trouble here is if you don't do what we ask you to do.
I'm hoping that that's all behind us.
Reese says he's committed to making Utah law enforcement the best in the country. He's promising fair, thorough, and objective investigations with the level of transparency people expect so they can trust officers.
When we do have bad circumstances or officers do bad things, I take it personal because I've dedicated my whole life to this profession. I don't like when people take away from that. I don't want to let the commissioner down. I don't want to let the state of Utah down.
Sheriff Jared Rigby could still file a lawsuit against the state, but his team is being quieter than they used to be on whether they still plan to do that. Meanwhile, Reese says he will approach the job the way he's always approached his jobs in law enforcement, by listening, learning, and improving every day. Reporting in studio tonight, Adam Herbetz, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, it's 9:19 here in Utah on the East Coast, 2 hours ahead as we continue to track some severe weather happening on the East Coast. We're seeing the very end of it right now, but a lot of reports of quite a bit of damage, especially through Maryland tonight, areas of flash flooding. We're still seeing storms moving through Washington. A lot of reports of wind damage into Virginia. We saw a report of hail, 4.75 inches in diameter, so some severe weather on the East Coast this evening, starting to wind down. For us here in Utah, our main weather story for today and tomorrow, red flag warnings into southeastern Utah. So again, tomorrow noon to 9 p.m. Any fires that start will spread quickly. We are highlighting mainly south of I-70 Moab down through the Four Corners all the way into eastern Washington County. However, I do want to urge everyone in Utah tomorrow to still be careful, especially into central Utah and eastern Utah. If you're not in the area with the red flag warnings, we're going to have a very strong pressure gradient tomorrow as the storm approaches from the north. This is going to be a shallow cold front moving through Utah tomorrow, and it's going to stall out in central Utah, and that's going to allow the wind to continue to pump into southern Utah, and things will remain very dry there. Here across northern Utah, we'll start seeing the chance for showers after midnight tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll keep that chance possible mainly for the mountains throughout the day tomorrow, but then we're going to see a break heading into Wednesday. And then we will end up with on and off chances for some stray storms at times throughout much of the rest of this work week. We'll see some elevated flash flooding concerns getting into the middle to the end of this week. For the Wasatch Front, rest of tonight, mostly cloudy. Some isolated showers possible tomorrow, becoming partly cloudy, with temperatures overnight here in Salt Lake City eventually dropping into the 60s. So mostly cloudy this evening into tomorrow morning. We are seeing a few showers right now out towards Tooele County. Really not a whole lot happening with this. Maybe just some raindrops out towards Dugway, but we've got temperatures right now about 70 to 80 degrees. Isolated storms possible and showers possible overnight for Ogden, peaking likely about 10 a.m. For Salt Lake, we're going to see some isolated storms through about 8 a.m. tomorrow. So mainly just some rain showers with this. We're not expecting to see a severe outbreak here in Utah overnight into tomorrow. It's a very shallow cold front. St. George close to 90 to 100 degrees for the next week. And for the Wasatch Front, tomorrow low 80s, close to 90 after that. We'll talk more about our chance for storms over the next couple of days coming up in just a bit. We'll be right back.
As Utah children get ready to head back to school this month, one district is urging drivers to be more careful around school buses.
Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold shows us how the Jordan School District is now using cameras to catch drivers breaking the law.
It's just amazing because you get to work with all different age groups and you get to see these kids grow up.
Marcus Swainston has been a bus driver for more than 10 years in the Jordan School District.
Most of our bus drivers are going to be driving anything from grades K, kindergarten, all the way up to high school.
Swainston says while out on the road, it isn't uncommon to see distracted drivers, or people going through red lights or the bus's stop arms.
I've seen multiple violations when I'm driving and with our other drivers, and it's scary because you're driving that most precious cargo, those people's children.
Paul Bergera, the district's transportation director, spoke about how a bus's stop arm works.
When the bus is going to make a stop at a general area, they flash their amber lights notifying the public that means that they're supposed to slow down, and then the red flashing lights indicate that a stop arm will be deployed and that everybody is required to stop depending on the size of road you're in.
In the Jordan School District, they have 270 buses in their fleet. About 175 to 180 of those are responsible for getting children from school and back. Bergera says a majority of those route buses are outfitted with exterior stop arm cameras that catch those violations as they take place.
I'll get the information from the drivers. They talk to our systems tech, or the people that kind of run the cameras. They give me video feeds, and then I'm able to work with law enforcement in our district's municipalities in pushing those out there.
Bergera says at that point, law enforcement can choose to prosecute however they deem necessary, whether that's a citation or education for the driver. I spoke with the Utah State Board of Education Monday afternoon, and they said they did a one-day study back in the spring where 95% of the school districts across the state participated. In that study, it showed there were 747 stop arm violations across the state. That includes 14 violations where they found drivers passing on the right side of the bus where children get on and off. While the cameras serve as a way to catch a stop arm violation in progress, Bergera says the bus driver or even the general public can be that extra set of eyes.
If they can see who the driver is and get a license plate number, then that helps us to, again, better educate the public.
The hope being, Swainston says, is that everyone slows down and is patient around their buses.
So we can do our job safely, and at the end of the day, let's just get these kids to and from school safely.
In West Jordan, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Starting next season, a college rivalry renewed.
Watch out, we're coming for you.
What Utah fans want BYU and other Big 12 schools to know as they enter the conference.
The Utah Utes and BYU Cougars are both joining a new conference. How much money have they been making, and how much do they stand to make now? We looked up the number.
Real Salt Lake's run in the Leagues Cup continues. We'll hear from head coach Pablo Mastroeni after today's training on what's next for the club.
I'm here with Wilmer, who's about to get sheared as he gets all gussied up and ready for the 4-H Salt Lake County Junior Livestock Show. I've got a special preview and what makes this one so unique. That's coming up.
Being part of the Pac-12 raised the profile of this university. We spent the last year working diligently together to try to keep this conference together. Ultimately, the dynamics of collegiate sports and media markets bring us to where we are here today.
And the Utes are embracing their new home in the Big 12. University of Utah administrators discussed leaving the Pac-12 today as more questions surround the conference's media rights opportunities.
Colorado was the first to move to the Big 12, and then over the weekend, Arizona and Arizona State joined Utah.
And social media platforms, they have been buzzing with fan reaction since Utah announced it was leaving the Pac-12.
Fox 13 News reporter Darian DeBrule caught up with some of those fans and shows us why they're excited about entering the Big 12.
They had to do this. They had no choice.
Many Utah fans remember University of Utah sports before the Pac-12 era.
Parents traveled down to Arizona for the Fiesta Bowl in 2004. Definitely remember watching the Sugar Bowl in 2008. I remember where I was at exactly, watching us take down Alabama.
Now Utah fans are excited to bring the roar of Rice-Eccles Stadium to the Big 12 and seeing what the Big 12 brings to Rice Eccles.
We get to see Mike Gundy's mullet. Maybe we'll get to see a horned frog.
Saying goodbye to the Pac-12 also means saying hello to Utah's historic rival, BYU.
It renews the Holy War rivalry. I think there's already a lot of buzz in the state, which is good. I mean, that's one of the top 10 rivalries in the country.
Still, fans admit it's hard to say goodbye to the Conference of Champions.
A little sad to see the Pac-12 demise. There's a lot of history with the Pac-12. There's a lot of other sports outside of football and basketball that the conference was really good at. Sad to see it go that way, but I think that's the right direction.
I'm not traveling to LA or to Seattle or to Eugene or some of those places. I think, you know, that's the thing that's maybe the tough part is the traveling stuff.
But the biggest question, how do Utah fans really think the school's top revenue sports can compete on the Big 12 stage?
I think we're pretty good with football. I'm more worried about basketball. I mean, Kansas, hello.
The Big 12 in basketball, that's going to be a tough conference.
Gymnastics is always one of the best in the country. I don't think they will have a problem.
Even with a new conference looming, Utah fans are looking to leave a lasting mark on the Pac-12.
I expect to win it again, three-peat, first time since Oregon.
We want to handle business and show that we're still the top team in the Pac-12 going out.
And a message for the teams in the Big 12.
Watch out, we're coming for you. We're good and we're taking names.
Go Utes.
Go Utes.
In Salt Lake City, Darian DeBrule, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now that the University of Utah will join the Big 12 and BYU is starting its first season there, how much money can those schools make?
Fox 13 News investigative reporter Nate Carlisle breaks down the numbers as he continues our team coverage tonight.
We looked up the numbers. The Utes were better off than some Pac-12 schools, and so was independent BYU for that matter. But in terms of money, other conferences offer more. In sports, the object is usually put more points on the board than the other team. Here's the leaderboard for college sports finances. According to the sports business website Sportico, Pac-12 schools in fiscal 2022 earned an average of $99 million in revenue. That's at the bottom among so-called Power 5 conferences. The Big 12 offers an average of 30% more than the Pac-12. That gap is going to grow beginning in 2024, when other conferences start new deals for television rights.
I think that things that I've seen in the press reported are pretty accurate about the deal that Apple provided.
In a news conference today in Tucson, the University of Arizona president described a proposal the Pac-12 heard last week from Apple TV for a streaming-only deal. No cable or over-the-air television.
$23 million a year per school and no games on linear access.
Not as much as what other conferences are guaranteed. Here's how much Utah and BYU earned in the most recent years for which data is available compared to at least the public schools in the Big 12. Texas and Oklahoma are moving to the Southeastern Conference next year. So, while neither Utah nor BYU necessarily starts at a huge disadvantage of the rest of the remaining schools, they also see the potential to make tens of millions more a year. That money can be used for improving facilities or hiring coaches, both of which attracts recruits.
I want to begin by thanking the Big 12 Conference.
At today's news conference in Salt Lake City, University of Utah President Taylor Randall and Athletic Director Mark Harlan spoke about the need for Pac-12 schools to do what's best for themselves.
At the end of the day, each university was plugging in the numbers and kind of making their own decision.
Our content sharing partners at the Salt Lake Tribune reports Utah will receive $31 million from the Big 12 media rights deal when it joins that conference next year. BYU joined on a more gradual plan, and it won't receive that amount until 2025. In the studio, Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, coming up, a Utah city is launching an app to help residents save water and money. We're going to show you how it works.
And the Salt Lake County Junior Livestock Show is happening later this week. We'll introduce you to some of the local children involved.
We're making a push now. I'm happy to be talking to you because we really want all Sandy residents to register for this software.
Some new smart technology could help Sandy residents save millions of gallons of water and money on their bills.
Well, that's a win-win. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow explains.
But this is the radio.
Sandy City is rolling out a new app.
The next step we need to take in terms of conservation.
Scott Ellis, who also works for Sandy City's Public Utilities Department, has been trying the Water Smart program out with his family. It can tell him how much water he's using, but it can also help detect leaks.
I have an elderly mother that lives here in the city also. I manage her sprinklers and her water use. I'm not there constantly, and so it's helpful. I sign up using the app to sign up to get alerts from her. I set thresholds for her sprinklers, so if there's something wrong at her house, it'll send me a text in the morning.
The Water Smart program will tell, based on water use, if there's a potential leak and suggest to residents places to start looking.
We upgraded to this newer software because it actually has built-in algorithms that will help identify what type of leak residents are potentially looking at, if that's the case, and that it'll send you an alert.
The program is available for Sandy residents and businesses with an existing billing account. And so far, since it's been in use, city officials have already documented some water savings.
Even in the first week, we got an email from a woman who had signed up right away, set up an alert, got a notification that she had a leaky toilet and fixed it and was able to reduce her water use in the house immediately.
That results in savings on both bills and water, as residents can help conserve.
The state has set goals, particularly over the last few years as we were living through the intense drought, for water conservation for 2030, 2040, 2060, these new targets. And this software will specifically help residents monitor their own use and see where they are relative to these goals.
So far, about 1,000 people have signed up as the city rolls out the Water Smart software. It also allows them to pay their water bill on the same program. Ellis says his family is using it to find even more savings.
It's kind of become a hobby, I think, for my wife. We have a smart controller on our sprinklers, and so she will adjust based on where the sun is and how much shade we have in the backyard. Some of our zones only run for 2 or 3 minutes.
In Sandy, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Very important topic. Well, coming up tonight, a front is starting to move through northern Utah, where we'll see some rain for your morning drive and how long it will last.
A former Utah football player and Timpview star is headed back to the NFL. I'll tell you who it is coming up in sports. And a big move for the Utah football program and all their athletic teams. We'll hear from the decision makers on why they decided to move to the Big 12 Conference.
More gay men can now give blood through the Red Cross. The FDA changed its eligibility questionnaire to apply the same to everyone, removing previous 3-month abstinence requirements for men who have sex with men. The rule went into effect earlier this year. Today, the Red Cross finished updating its procedures to make the change. We spoke with one man at the Red Cross headquarters in Murray who says he was happy to finally be able to donate.
My mom needed a blood transfusion during my birth, so this is very personal, and to finally be able to donate myself and to give back, I'm happy to be here, happy to contribute.
Chris and the Red Cross encourage everyone who can donate to do so. The Red Cross is experiencing a nationwide shortage of blood.
The Tracy Aviary in Salt Lake hosted an Eco Arts Festival tonight. Community partners and local artists were on site showcasing their art for people to enjoy inside after the aviary closed to the public for the day.
By supporting local artists and local businesses as well as local farms, it's one of the best ways to kind of help preserve nature in your area.
The Tracy Aviary has been hosting this event since 2021. This was the last Eco Arts Festival for the summer.
A lot of life lessons for youth happen while raising livestock, but many of our urban youth don't get that chance.
Yeah, lessons in hard work.
Yeah.
Fox 13 News anchor Amy Nay spent the day with children who were able to raise their own animals and are now getting ready for the Junior Livestock Show this week.
Do you know how to cook those? I thought you could. Because he needs another one.
These kids from all over the Salt Lake Valley shearing, washing,
Oh, that's fun.
walking, and caring
His favorite thing in the whole world. Look, I got
for their animals as they get ready for the 4-H Salt Lake County Junior Livestock Show.
And we've got roughly between 35 and 40 youth who have been able to this year raise sheep and goat projects here at the Bastion Center, and it's been incredible.
Josh Dallin is the director of the USU Bastion Agricultural Center, not far off the freeway on 114th South.
The mission of the Bastion Center is to provide agricultural opportunities for youth and adults that are in an urban setting.
This is my goat. His name is Val.
12-year-old Ulysses from Bluffdale introducing us to his goat.
He's like a pet, even though he's like a meat goat. He likes to play around, he likes to walk with me. It's super fun.
Showing us these pictures of Val just a few months ago and now.
He turned into this, a big fat blob.
So what does that feel like when you're the one who helped raise him and kind of help him
Well,
create?
I feel very responsible because I like being responsible because it just feels good. But being a responsibility this big feels very good.
Time and dedication and a passion for it. You have to love it.
And Laura loves it. Living with her mom in a townhome in Draper, she says she's grateful to be able to keep and care for her lamb at this facility.
Bruno, he's my lamb for the fair. It's a lot of work, and but it's so rewarding because you're out here every day and every night, and you see them grow from when they're tiny to 150-pound animal, and it's so rewarding at the end when you get to go into the show ring and show them.
This is Napkin, a real sweetheart, getting ready for the Junior Livestock Show and giving the kids who help raise him a really great opportunity that they may not otherwise have, many of them in more urban environments.
My grandpa owns a lot of animals, and I've always wanted to, but here in the city we don't really get that chance, and so getting to have them here is a great opportunity.
Emily and her sister Kenzie from South Jordan say it's been a lot of fun to raise their sheep in this program.
I love animals, and I think it's like, I don't know, I love being with them and doing all the hard work for it.
Knowing they'll eventually make it to someone's dinner table.
It's like what we're raising them for, so you kind of have to accept it at the beginning, and it makes it easier, but it is hard to let them go.
In years past, the Bastion family in Salt Lake County have bought the majority of the livestock at auction with a specific purpose.
All of the meat is donated to the local food bank here in Salt Lake County, so it's really a cool thing for these youth.
And Dallin says teaching a number of life lessons.
You know, hard work pays off, you got to keep at it, and sometimes there's things that are out of our control. These youth have to learn absolute responsibility. They're in charge of a living animal.
The show is open to the public and starts Wednesday with the auction on Saturday.
Up to it, it's so fun to watch.
In South Jordan, Amy Nay, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, we're tracking a front moving through Utah. It's going to be a shallow cold front bringing us some precipitation. Potentially, we could see some isolated areas of thunderstorm activity overnight into tomorrow morning. Along with that frontal boundary, it's going to stall in central Utah tomorrow. And out ahead of it, that's going to allow a very tight pressure gradient that's going to really get the winds whipping tomorrow, which is going to lead us to the elevated fire concerns across the southern part of Utah. So here are your main weather headlines on this Monday evening. The fire concerns for southern and eastern Utah for tomorrow. We're tracking a front tonight, bringing us some areas of showers into tomorrow morning as Speed Week does begin out at the Bountiful Salt Flats. And that potentially, I don't know how much rain they would need to impact any of the racing, but we will have the showers overnight into tomorrow morning, which could create some brief travel hazards here across far northern Utah for 7 a.m. So it looks like most of that will be about Salt Lake further north into Tuesday morning for the morning early part of the commute. Then it's going to stall out. The wind's going to pick up across the southern part of the state tomorrow. That's the light blue that you're seeing near the Arizona border. And then we're going to end up with pretty decent temperatures here across the state for tomorrow afternoon, along with some thinning of the clouds. So into tomorrow morning, Tuesday, 7 a.m., our best chance for our heaviest precipitation near the Idaho border and up into Wyoming. So we're going to keep most of the thunderstorm activity into the far northern part of our viewing area. We're going to keep the wind going across southern Utah tomorrow, noon to 9 p.m., the red flag warnings, with a flash flood potential that is not expected at our recreation areas for tomorrow. Chance of precipitation in Ogden for tomorrow, widely scattered, isolated Tuesday night. Some isolated chances possible through the rest of the work week. For Provo, your chance of precipitation isolated Tuesday night, again on and off through the weekend. And for the St. George area, your best chance for some showers will be on Thursday, and those are just going to be widely scattered. So temps in St. George close to 100 degrees for the next 7 days. Thursday's your coolest day, along with your best chance for some showers and thunderstorms. For Salt Lake City, we have low 80s for tomorrow, and then we're close to 90 degrees through the rest of the 7-day forecast. And then I do want to point out that through the middle part of August, temperature outlook for days 8 to 14, we are looking at above average temperatures for us here out west. So we are going to end up with temperatures that are going to be heating up, and that'll be during the middle part of our month. So tomorrow 82, then we warm up after that.
As Utah prepares to begin their 13th and final season in the Pac-12 Conference, their future is in the Big 12 Conference. After a wild summer of negotiations ended with the Utes joining the Big 12 last week, along with Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State. After Washington and Oregon announced they were headed to the Big 10, Utah made the move.
Ultimately, the dynamics of collegiate sports and media markets bring us to where we are here today. I'm very, very optimistic about the future. This Big 12 conference sets high standards. We're very, very excited about that.
You have to do what's best for the institution that you're at, and this place is special. Of course there's bittersweet. It'd be disingenuous for me not to say that, but there's the sweet part too, and there is excitement of what's ahead in the cities that our student athletes will be able to compete in. And we know with this announcement and securing the future and some of the anxieties moving to the side now, that I anticipate that we'll even grow even further. Our future is very bright.
Yeah, and the future looks bright for the football team this season. The Utes are ranked 14th in the preseason coaches poll. Former Utah Ute and Timothy High School star Pita Taumoepenu signed with the New York Jets. He was the XFL Defensive Player of the Year this season with the Vegas Vipers. To return to the NFL for Pita after the 49ers picked him in the 6th round of the 2016 NFL Draft. Real Salt Lake continues their run in the League's Cup tomorrow night at LAFC in the round of 16. RSL struggled against LAFC with just 2 wins in 13 matches in all competitions. But RSL is playing well right now, heading into the match against the reigning MLS champions.
We're in a great run of form in this moment. We have momentum on our side. How do we capitalize as a collective understanding? And I think those are experienced teams with experienced players. That was shown in our game against Leon, where I think we got the first goal and we didn't drop off. We stepped on it, we kept the pressure up, and so we're gaining in that form. But I think it's going to be a game of managing the moments, understanding when we're under it as a team, collectively getting nice and tight and not allowing any moments of not being dialed in. And then when we're on top of the game is really capitalizing on the chances.
Diana Sabo has been hired as Utah State's athletic director. She recently worked for the Big 10 Conference as its deputy commissioner and at Ohio State before that. She might be busy trying to negotiate the Mountain West with those 4 remaining Pac-12 schools. We'll see. I think the swapping and switching around college conferences is not quite done yet, but it's good news that the Utes and Cougars are back together.
Yes,
like
here we go.
We were talking about that. I feel like the Holy War plans have already been. People are talking about it.
Yeah,
it feels
excited.
good. I love it. I can't wait.
All right. Well, maybe an opportunity for Utah State to move into a new conference.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Exciting. Thanks, Jeff.
We'll be right back.
Thanks, everyone, for watching on this Monday night.
QuickCast is up next. Don't touch that dial.